So, has anyone here seen a total eclipse of the sun? Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. And yes, Soren helpfully told me that there's one happening in North America on April 8th, which I desperately want to see. So you all now know. A total eclipse represents something that is such a mind-boggling mystery to me that it literally keeps me up at night. I know what you're thinking, a solar eclipse is totally clear, it's just the moon blocking the sun. But have you ever thought about how absolutely bonkers it is that the moon covers the sun almost perfectly in our sky? The moon orbits the Earth, it's smaller than the Earth, whereas the sun is massive and much farther away. And the ratio of the distance of each celestial body to Earth and each size means that in the sky, they appear to be the same size. Why? No, why? How is the sun almost exactly 400 times the size of the moon and 400 times further away? Meaning that they appear the same size to us. This kind of thing sends me into a tailspin. No other planet in our solar system has anything close to this. And science's answer? Coincidence. So you're telling me that the only planet in our solar system that can sustain life has a sun and a moon that are exactly the right distance and size for a total solar eclipse to appear in the sky. Just randomly. That's the way it is. My brain really has a hard time believing that this is coincidence. When it comes to a creator God like Ursula Goodenough talks about, this feels like evidence for it. Why else would these two bodies be the same size in the sky? Did God decide that our daylight and our nightlight would look most aesthetically pleasing if they were the same size for us? Did this creator God decide that large objects in the sky should be the same size, and then at some point we as humans got curious about the universe and they said, oh no, I need to fix the rest of everything and make it make sense? I also looked to science to tell me that maybe for some reason a planet's moon needs to be the right size for a total eclipse in order for it to be able to sustain life. That would surely explain what would seem like a totally random event. Yet, no such luck. It feels like there is no logical explanation except for a divine entity. Now, scientists, of which I know there are some here, would probably tell you or me that a coincidence doesn't mean something is divinely ordained. Our brains are designed to see patterns and to find meaning in them. Statistician David Hand says in his book, The Improbability Principle, improbable events are commonplace. So perhaps the improbable event of the moon and the sun really is just that. And if you look into it, the sun does appear to be about 1% larger in the sky. And the moon is actually moving away from the Earth at a rate of about 4 centimeters a year. So this hasn't always been true, and it won't always be true. Humans just happen to be living in this sliver of time when it is true. Okay, fine. So this maybe is a coincidence, but what about the improbable event of the universe itself? Improbable events are commonplace. Now, is this an unsolved mystery of the universe? This sun and the moon size thing? Maybe. Maybe only for me. But have you heard of the electron? The very first subatomic particle to be discovered in the late 1800s. What is an electron? With an electron, you can measure its charge, its mass, its spin. You can measure its effect on other particles. But you know what's weird? People have not observed an electron. We don't actually know how small it is. It could be infinitesimally small, and we literally have no idea. Okay, it's not that we have no idea. It's that it's difficult to measure, and we're still figuring it out. We have theories. What about the Big Bang? The entire universe, all the mass and energy existed at one point smaller than a period at the end of a sentence, and then boom. What happened before that? What caused this miraculous thing we call our universe, this massive collections of stars and gas and rocks and the laws of physics? Was that God? What about life on other planets? These are all the questions that the kids had too, right? Carl Sagan, famous science communicator, said that if there are no aliens, it's an awful waste of space. Which literally sounds like even he believes that there should be something out there, some greater meaning for all this space that we have. So what does this mean for us, right, here on Earth, trying to live our lives in this mysterious universe? It can be easy, certainly is for me, to get stuck in these questions of cosmology or astronomy and use this almost as an escape from reality. And I know I have been known to sit and think about these things, how it's possible that there's anything at all, like a kind of escape into a question so big that it makes human problems feel infinitesimal. We're all guilty of escapism to a degree. It can even be a healthy coping mechanism, whether it be a television show or books or Dungeons and Dragons. And for me, sometimes I sit out there on the edge of mystery. And while I feel awe, it can sometimes cause me to fall into nihilism, that sense that nothing matters. We don't know what came before the Big Bang. We don't know if there is a God in many senses of the word, whether God is the Christian concept of God, or if God means computer programmers of a simulation. If we are just the product of a creator God, or if there was nothing before the Big Bang and there won't be anything after the universe ends, why does it matter what we do here on Earth, in this small sliver of time we have to live? Does morality matter? Does integrity matter? Ursula Goodenough says, as I witness contemporary efforts to generate planetary consensus, I see many high-minded and earnest people attempt to operate within an amalgam of an economic, military, and political arrangement. And I find myself crying out, but wait, where is the religion? What is orienting this project besides fear and greed? Where is the shared cosmology and shared morality? Now, I'm sure you've heard this fear that those who are atheists have nothing keeping them from not acting in a moral and ethical way. No parental God figure to keep them in line. That is a fear that drives not only this fear of atheists, but fear of those who are a different religion than you. In the United States, we see this often with Muslims and Jews. How many times have you heard that the idea of that Islam is a religion of war, as if Christianity has not been used to justify killing around the world, and enslavement? But back to the mystery, the shared cosmology that Goodenough connects with a shared morality, right? What would be a shared cosmology that connects to a shared morality? I feel like this question is particularly relevant to Unitarian Universalists. We don't necessarily share the same beliefs about God or the afterlife, but we do have some shared theology, right? We must. Perhaps some shared theology about how we are to be morally, what we owe to each other. One of my favorite things about space, and you know there are a lot of wonderful things about space that I love, is the fact that when astronauts go into space, they experience something called the overview effect. Who's heard of this? Yeah. Sorry, my wife was like, yeah, from you, talking about it all the time. I'm sorry that I'm a nerd, guys. Which is when you see the Earth for all its you see the Earth, right, for all of its borderless, fragile beauty. The fact that this planet is just the right size and just the right distance to create and sustain life is truly one of the most amazing things and one of the biggest unsolved mysteries of the universe, is whether or not we are the only life or the only intelligent life, whatever that means. And if we are not, why have we not encountered other life? What might other life look like? Would it be carbon-based as we are? or something totally different. That coincidence, that this planet has all the right conditions for life, is as mind-boggling to me as the one about the relative size of the sun and the moon in the sky. So if we don't know anything about other life in our universe, don't we have a duty to protect life on this planet? Now, wars have been a part of the human condition for all of history. But with intelligence, humans have developed ways to kill each other that are on a massive scale. Add to that the ways we depend on each other in our society for things like food and power to keep up our food fresh and water. You have a completely different world than we had 200 years ago, one in which we are deeply dependent on one another, and in turn has ways to massively wipe out each other. World War II drove that home with the atomic bomb, right? Where the United States killed hundreds of thousands of people in the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Our ability to do this kind of killing has massively increased. And so when we look at the wars that are happening on our planet now, you see things like air raids, right? That wouldn't have happened 200 years ago. You see civilian attacks. Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which is still ongoing, by the way, includes many war crimes. Several countries are currently involved in internal and external conflicts. Myanmar, conflict among countries in North Africa, Mexico, the Ethiopian Civil War, the war in Sudan, in addition to what we are all thinking about, Israel and Palestine. And those are just the wars that, according to Wikipedia, have resulted in over 10,000 deaths in the past year. In fact, the map of conflicts around the world looks like this. But of course, this map leaves a few things out. The United States, in its peaceful gray, doesn't acknowledge its military aid to places like Israel. To claim it is not part of that conflict is misleading. Yet when you look at Earth from space, it looks like this. I don't see any borders, do you? You can take that one down, Maddie. Now, there's a lot of commentary about us living in one of the most peaceful times in human history. Steven Pinker, controversial figure, Harvard University professor of psychology, shares that we live in one of the least violent times. Violent deaths are decreasing. Yet a 2017 study found that deaths in war are actually increasing. So if you are a place that is involved in an armed conflict, you are more likely to die than you were in the past, which leads to, perhaps, even starker differences between the gray countries we saw and those involved in armed conflict. Yet still, when you look about at the world from above, it looks the same. We in the United States sit in this privileged position with this ability to influence conflict a whole world away without feeling much of the consequence of it. But I will say this, life is precious. We don't even know if there is other life in the entire universe. Humans are this amazing creature who have figured out which tiny particles make up our body. We figured that out. And how stars are born. And about different kinds of matter. We have gained the curiosity to try and figure out who and what we are. And we've learned empathy and compassion and care for those who might live half a world away. I doubt there's anyone here who doesn't feel for those who live in Gaza right now, just as they felt for those attacked by Hamas. This ability and capacity for that empathy is a gift. And it can tell us that we need to stop the fighting. So I want to end on what might seem like a weird note. We probably won't find extraterrestrial life in our lifetime, much to my chagrin, or discover what prompted the Big Bang, or figure out if the size of the moon and the sun in the sky is actually just a coincidence. But I want people to be alive if and when we do. Which means we need to take care of our planet, our climate, our ecosystem, as well as its people. There is mystery out there, That edge of science is beautiful and mysterious and sacred and deeply meaningful. So what if we stopped destroying each other and our planet? We Unitarian Universalists are an aspirational faith, which means we have our principles, which you can read in the front of the hymnal. We work towards creating a world in which these things can be true, where every life does have inherent worth and dignity, Palestinian and Israeli, Sudanese and Ethiopian, where our web of life is respected, where we responsibly seek truth and meaning. We know this may not come in our lifetimes, it may not ever come, but is a worthy goal, a worthy theology. Whatever you believe about God and the universe, let us join together in our shared belief in the preciousness of this world, that through some miracle, be it scientific or religious, or maybe when you get to that level, both, that by some miracle has been given to us. That is sacred, and that is a reason to protect it. May it be so. Let us say together, Amen. Amen.